Hello, our dear viewers. In today's third episode, we will talk with Дэвид Losada from Santьяgo-De-Compostela University from Spain about Bid Data, the Elba project, and about his own life. Hope you will enjoy it. So, hello, Дэвид. Welcome to our little IT talk show. We're very glad to see you right now. And before we start, can you please introduce yourself briefly and tell us why you came to Kazakhstan, what's your goals here?
Yes, I am Дэвид Losada. I am professor in computer science and artificial intelligence at the University of Santьяgo-De-Compostela in Spain. And I am also the Vice Dean of the Technical School of Engineering in the University of Santьяgo-De-Compostela. And the main reason why I'm here is that I am the academic coordinator of the Elba project. The Elba project is a project funded by the European Union, whose main goal is to establish this cooperation between European universities and universities in Central Asia. And more specifically for the Elba project, we have 3 European partners: the University of Santiago, my university, together with Polytechnical University of Torino in Italy, and the University of Primorska in Slovenia. Those are the 3 European partners. And there are 10 universities in Central Asia, including IITU. And the main goal of the project is to establish this collaboration between European institutions and the Asian institutions to promote the development of new courses and academic programs related to big data analytics, and also to help Central Asian institutions in the training of their academic staff in new topics related to big data and data science. Those are essentially the main goals of the project, and this project started in late 2019. And we had several rounds of training, and this is what we call retraining, because some of the Central Asia professors already been in Europe having some training weeks about these data science and big data analytics topics. And now some professors from Europe come here for a few days in order to have these training events about the topics that are interesting in terms of big data analytics.
Thank you so much for enriching our education system. And if we go further, we want to know you a little bit closer as a person, not only as an educator.
Sure.
So we'll have a little blitz poll, if you mind. So I will tell you some questions about yourself, about your hobbies, and you can just answer briefly and shortly if you want. So the first question is, what 3 books would you recommend to our viewers?
Well, that's a very good question. I am a computer scientist, but in the last 10 years I have been reading a lot about psychology and decision making and things like that. So first book I would recommend is from Daniel Kahneman. Perhaps you know him. He was a Nobel Prize winner in the economics, but he had no background in economics. He's a psychologist, and his book is entitled I think in English the title is Think Slow, Think Fast, or something like that. It's really a very nice book that presents the way in which humans think. That you might, in principle, you might think that we are rational beings, that we take very, objective decisions. But in real life, if you read this book and some other books by other psychologists, you learn that we take a lot of decisions based on, emotions and quick, This is really a really good book about that, and he explained what he calls System 1 and System 2, and things like that, the way in which we make decision making. So that would be my first recommendation. Okay, second recommendation.
Yeah,
second recommendation. In the last few years, I also read many books about, persuasion and how to, get people, if you have some arguments or decision-making process, and there is this book which is very well known by Robert Cialdini that is called Persuasion, that essentially introduces you on different things that you can implement in order to have, in a discussion or in something that you need to agree with a group of people, what strategies you could employ to deal with that. It's really very well-known book in this area, and it's useful in many aspects in your life. And I also like to read many books about the thinking of Stoics, right? I started reading very, traditional books like Marcus Aurelius' book, many centuries ago. That is incredible to see how many of the things that he was thinking when he was Emperor of Rome and are really now useful in our daily life. Mm-hmm. And also many recent authors that try to introduce some contributions related to Stoic thinking in our life, like for instance Ryan Holiday. I've read many books by Ryan Holiday as well.
Okay, so that's the second recommendation, and
that was the second and third.
Okay, thank you so much. We will definitely read at least one of these books, especially the persuasion one, because we're journalists and we really need it. I think we'll have a course about persuasion. Okay, the second question is, tell us about the most beautiful place in Spain that you love and would maybe recommend to sightsee.
Well, I cannot be objective here to
it's like about your preferences.
I mean, I am from Galicia. Galicia is a region in the northwest of Spain. It's a region in the corner right above Portugal in the Atlantic Sea. We have very, very beautiful places in the coast, for instance. We have these inlands in the coast. We have very beautiful beaches, and I am originally from Santiago. Santьяgo-De-Compostela is a city very well known because of the pilgrims. There is this road to Santiago. Many people go there on foot from France, from Germany, from many other places. And this all the way to Santiago is really beautiful. It's a very nice experience. So, I mean, I cannot select a single place. For instance, the Cathedral of Santiago is really beautiful place to visit, and this beautiful architecture. And I would say go to Galicia. There are many possibilities. You can go to the coast, you can enjoy the beaches, you can have very nice hiking in the mountains. We have many very nice old villages and cities.
So the whole city is beautiful. And the very last question about
World Heritage is World Heritage City.
Of course, the culture. And the Blitzball question is, your very first impression of Kazakhstan is like when you step in there, you were like, wow, like the first thought.
Well, we arrived very late at night, and but my first impression is that this must be a beautiful, very beautiful country if you like, to go hiking and to spend time outdoors. And I really think that, this is a huge country. I think I read in the Wikipedia that it's the 8th or 9th country that is... Ninth, okay. So it must be, there must be a wide range of, natural places. So my first impression is that it must be really nice to cross the country and to see all the natural places. The mountains is really very, very nice.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we'll go further to our interview part. When we'll ask questions about profession, about the way you study, about maybe education. So the very first question is, what is big data and why do companies need it?
Well, big data is typically explained with this all these words that start with V, like volume, meaning that today in many domains there is a huge volume of data that is produced in a daily basis. for instance, social media tweets or input that you get from a network of sensors, data coming in from, for instance, cameras on the streets. So there are many situations where you have a huge volume of data that is produced. So this is the first typical dimension that is important to understand big data. You have a huge volume of data that you cannot analyze manually, right? Second question about big data is that the velocity. So this data is not that you have a single huge static corpus of data, but you have a situation where this data is produced dynamically with a huge velocity. So every minute you get 100,000 new tweets, or you have new information coming in from the network of sensors of Internet of Things, or in a hospital you are monitoring patients and you get every second new information. So it's a huge volume and you get this information at a huge velocity. And the third typical classical component of big data is, or dimension, is the variety. It's not that you have information from a single source in a single format, but you typically have input from different formats and a wide range of sources. For instance, a new event that happens now, you're going to get input from tweets. Perhaps, for instance, imagine a crash in the highway to the airport, right?
Yeah.
You are going to get tweets on
YouTube videos.
Exactly, information from the cameras. So you have this challenge of putting this together and building applications that learn to process these different types of sources and make a good use for instance, for decision making.
So companies need it for if they have some questions about decision making, about maybe to launch a new product. So they gather all the information from data analysts.
Yeah, depends on the specifics of each company. But in general, they need this because this data in general is strategic for decision making. For instance, if you want to do, I don't know, if you have a hotel, it's really important to track opinions in social media about the hotel, react quickly about the negative aspects that are commented by people, and this is strategic for your company, for instance. In the healthcare domain, again, you are going to have information, perhaps textual reports from the physicians, but also other type of numerical information from the devices that are connected to the people. And again, you want to put this together and develop intelligent applications that help you to do a good care for the people.
So it sounds pretty like a difficult thing to do. So sorry again. So it really sounds something like a difficult thing to do. So it leads us to question what it takes to be a data analyst specialist, and what kind of maybe characteristics you need, or maybe like how hard it is to become one.
Well, you need to have some basic skills on, things like statistics and programming,
mathematics,
and computer science. But that is, perhaps the technological part. But I would say that a good data scientist has to be quite innovative in the way of thinking, right? Trying to design because one challenge that we have here is that, of course, we have all these sources of data, but there is a lot of noise, and there is this challenge of coming out with effective ways to exploit this data and find the needle in the haystack. And this is, of course, this has technological challenges. You need to understand the building blocks of these models that help you to process this data and to make predictions. But, it's also important to have innovative ideas and think out of the box in order to know what is the exact added value that you are going to get from these data-based applications.
Yeah, okay. So like we have a little bit information about all the whole stuff. So what if they already started? And for example, we can take our teachers that you are teaching right now, maybe like helping with educational process. And the question is, what kind of advantages do our teachers or the participants from ELBA program like take from the program, like the main concept?
Well, I think the most important part of these academic programs is that, today in the industry all over the world, this type of specialists are really important, because many companies, even small companies, realize that they need to take important steps to exploit this data, right? There are some expressions typically used that this is the new gold. Data is the new gold, right?
Yes.
And in terms of the added value for the professors of the university is that when we teach these students in these programs, big data analytics, data science programs, we are making a good contribution for the society. Over the years, we started, I think, 7 years ago in Santiago, defining this new master program on big data analytics. Has been very, very successful. We have students, not only computer science students, but also students coming from mathematics, even students coming from the Faculty of Economics, a wide profile of students that take this master. And we see that when they graduate from the master, they go to companies and they really make an impact. And this is really very nice to see that many of them, perhaps now after 5 years, they occupy now very important positions, perhaps in international companies, and they are making really important changes in the way in which the applications are developed, and they support people. So this is really good for us to see that we give the industry and the institutions the type of training that they are actually demanding.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. And the next question is, as a specialist, what do you like about your job and about the specialty that you choose?
Well, I like many things. I like interacting with young people. I like seeing what is the process. For instance, I teach many different courses. One of the courses that I teach is Introduction to Programming in the first year of the bachelor degree in computer science. So I start with these students who just came to the university from the secondary school, and it's really good to see how they are and how they behave when they are in the first year. And then perhaps I also teach other courses in the last year of the bachelor degree or in the master program, and I really see a huge evolution since the first years of the bachelor to the end of the academic programs. So this is one very nice aspect of my career as a professor at the university, being able to interact with them, help them to answer and to ask interesting questions, and seeing the whole process. And of course, in terms of research, I like very much to do research and to be able to collaborate with people all over the world about different topics. My research specialization is oriented to information retrieval and text mining technologies, being able to understand how trying to develop applications that try to understand the semantics of the text and the natural language processing and things like that. And I like to learn. I like to see, state-of-the-art solutions, trying to apply them for our projects, trying to design new methods. This is really interesting to be learning all the time. That's a very interesting aspect of my activity.
Absolutely. Okay, and consequently, what do you do not like about your job? But maybe there's some disadvantages.
Admin. Bureaucracy. That's the worst part of my activities. And actually, I became in 2020 the vice dean of our faculty.
Ooh.
And this makes,
Congratulations.
Well, yeah, thank
well
you.
deserved, for sure.
But this makes, you have to go to lots of meetings, you have to fill lots of forms, meet with many people. Of course, there is also a learning aspect of this part of my activity, but admin I don't really like, this, because sometimes in the universities, not only in Spain but all over the world, some of the processes are quite bureaucratic, even to very minor things like, I don't know, booking a room or things like that. You need to fill sometimes papers and submit papers to this office and get the response and things like that. And sometimes it's annoying to have all this, bureaucracy.
Yeah.
But
papers it's everywhere. But is there something specific about the big data that maybe there's some minuses, or is it perfect for you?
Perhaps ethics, right? Because in some cases, this is strategic for a number of applications, but you need to be really careful. And actually, Europe and European programs are quite concerned about this. That, the data sometimes is available, but you need to be sure that the technology that you develop is actually ethical, doesn't have biases, for instance, gender biases, or because you might build an application that is fed with data that does not consider the wide range of people that is going to support. And you need to be sure that the new services or the new tools that you develop are actually doing a positive impact on the life of citizens, because there is a possibility that you have some intrusion from the technology. Yes. Perhaps this could be actually negative. You are trying to do a good recommendation or a good service, but you need to be really careful with the possible side effects. And of course, to that end, you need to work with psychologists, we need to work with specialists on social science, and you need to have a wide perspective on the tools and applications that you develop.
Okay, thank you so much. I gained a lot of information today, and I don't know, big data is just amazing right now. So I'm actually considering about maybe doing my majors in it. So what would you, the last question, what would you recommend for the beginners or for the people just starting their journey to the big data?
Well, you need to have some basic skills in computer science, right? Because, for instance, in our programs, we try to design the master programs in a very inclusive way, meaning that we are essentially a computer science department, and many of the students who take the master program are from computer science. But we really wanted to have a program that was open to a wide range of profiles, like people from economics, people from mathematics, etc. Because we are aware that this big data application can make an impact in many other fields. And we need specialists in these other fields that know well the domain, etc. But still, you need to have a basic understanding of things like how to process data, what is the meaning of predictive technology, like, I don't know, an automatic classifier or a clustering algorithm. So I would suggest that those that are interested in this type of programs, they develop some basic skills on programming. Today, for instance, Python is one of the standard language programming in data science. So, and Python, it's quite, it's reasonably easy to learn, even for people who does not know any other programming languages. So I would suggest that if you want to start doing some things in this area, you get familiar with these basic tools. And the good side of this is that today you don't really have to be an expert programmer. or an expert developer to get into this area, because in most of the cases you have libraries that do much of the job, and you essentially need to get familiar with how to use them, how to invoke this function to get the results, and how to interpret the results.
Okay, thank you so much. That was so useful. And that's it for today.
Okay.
Thank you so much, David.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, bye. That's it for today. Hope you all enjoyed and find new stuff to think about, maybe about big data, maybe about your job descriptions, maybe if you want to change it. So we will be glad to hear that. And today's episode was brought by Орманова Назым, Аскербекова Жибек, Ахметова Amina, and Чернобрывченко Arina. Hope you enjoyed, and don't forget to subscribe and like.